So, hello and welcome. And I'm just going to read a poem. This poem is called Love. We all need love, we all need care, we all need to feel someone is there. When we face the world, its trials and tests, we need someone who puts our heart to rest. The loneliness of life is hard to bear, the hinterland of the heart full of despair, when all seems hopeless and all seems lost, appearing on the horizon across seas all storm-tossed. A shining light, a gleaming gaze, cuts through the murk, the mist and the haze, igniting my heart with hope and desire, lifting me out of doubt and quagmire. Love floods my body, my mind and my soul. This spark of divine makes me feel whole. Every sense now alive with compassion and bliss. I feel so anew whenever we kiss. Like a light in the dark, like heat in the cold, like a poor man who found a mountain of gold. I will cherish this angel with every breath. I will give her my life from now on to death. So that's just a poem I wrote. It's not related to the theme for today's video, but it's just what I felt like reading today. So this video is called Solutions, and I'm just going to get to it because someone asked me a few weeks ago on to just write out, do I have any solutions for, what's going on in Ireland at the moment, and I have written some of them down, about how to, this camera's probably very shaky now, sorry about that. I've written some of them down, just the first one, I've got 10 of them. I have about 25 really, but I think about 15 of them are not fully developed or too controversial to say out loud at the moment. So we'll just start with the ones that I've thought about. So the first solution, number one, is to promote Irish marriage. Okay, so and how do we do that? Well, I have a very simple way. It's by when people get married, then to introduce a tax break, so that what happens is they get married, and then if they decide, once they have children, okay, so this doesn't apply if they don't have children, but once they have children, then one decides to stay at home, mother or father, usually be the mother, and then what happens is they don't pay any income tax. So they'll be allowed, the one partner will be able to work and just make enough money to keep, usually the mother or one partner in the home to mind and raise the children. So no income tax for mothers and fathers if one of them decides to stay at home and raise their children. Now the other thing is that if they decide to work, two of them decide to work, then they have to pay income tax. It's the idea is to keep people in the, usually mothers in the home to raise children, because children need their mothers. So that's and then the other thing then is for newlyweds to be able to qualify for an interest-free loan from the state to buy a house. So they're the two things that I would do to promote Irish marriage. So no income tax if one parent decides to stay home and raise the children, and then an interest-free loan from the state to buy a house. That's what I would do. And then number two, cut benefits to foreigners, unless they actually do genuinely, they are entitled to it, which is not a whole lot of them are not entitled to it, and they're claiming benefits. So I would cut benefits to foreigners, and I would also have somebody comes in here and they apply for asylum, just say, and we know that 90% of asylum cases are rejected. So as soon as they apply for asylum, they get their benefit, okay, and then if it goes through and it gets rejected, then the benefit's cut, and they don't get any benefit whatsoever, and they're not entitled to it ever again, because they're gaming the system, and there should be consequences for that. So that's what I would do with that. Number three, I would have voting for only over 25s, and the reason for that is, and maybe even a bit older, maybe 26. The reason for that is because our brains aren't fully developed until we're 25 years old. They don't stop growing until we're 25. So. And as you get older, you kind of realize that young people are crazy, because we're all crazy when we're young, because we're not developed properly. We're only learning. So I would raise the voting age to 25, and most people are starting to get a little bit of common sense by then. So they would be able to make kind of more informed political decisions than just say an 18, 19-year-old who doesn't have a clue. You know what I mean? And shouldn't be voting, because they're too young. They're too young. And then the other thing as well, just in order to qualify for the voting, because you give away votes, and I think they're not valued because everybody qualifies for them, and it's kind of given away. Like it's like if you give away something for free, it's not valued. And so in order, you have to qualify for the vote, and you have to do some kind of public service. So I would implement, when people leave school, one year or 18 months or 2 years, whatever it is, of public service. Now you don't have to do it. So you can decide to do whatever you want with your life. But if you don't do this public service, it can be, joining the army or joining the, doing something with the roads. So I don't know exactly what it would be, but it would be some form of public service. And and then once you do your public service, then you're entitled to vote when you turn 25, and you're also entitled to benefits as an Irish national. If you don't do the public service, then you're not entitled to vote when you turn 25, and you're not entitled to benefits, except for an old age state pension. Okay. Now this, and obviously, if there's vulnerable people with Down syndrome and stuff, and this doesn't apply to them. It's able-bodied and able-minded people I'm talking about. So that would be number 3. Number 4 then is got to do with food. I have a feeling that we're about to head into food scarcity and famines in the future. Even though it hasn't happened in my lifetime, I think it's coming again. And so in order to combat that, I would have a law basically saying that no taxation on food that's produced and sold within the country. So if you want to set up a business, buying or growing food, or even a restaurant selling food, that kind of stuff, well, actually maybe not restaurants, but definitely producing food and selling food at wholesale level, or at the at the farmers markets and stuff. I don't think that they shouldn't be taxed in any way. I think that the only food that should be taxed is the food that's produced for export, because that's done by large scale operations. But small scale operations, I think it would be good. It would protect our ability to look after ourselves in the future with the food scarcity that's bound to hit us in the near future. So no tax on food that's produced and sold within the country. There will be some exceptions to that, obviously, for big operators, but for the most part, it would encourage a lot of small scale operators to get into that industry. That's number 4. Number 5 then, and I think this is a pretty big one. At the moment we have free pornography, and I would make that illegal. I would make it a law saying that pornography, if you want to access pornography, you have to pay for it. It has to go behind a paywall. This would stop a lot of young people from accessing it, because they have to put in their credit card details and all that stuff. So that would be make free pornography illegal, and prosecute anybody then who breaks that law. And the reason for that is because I just think that I have a feeling myself that creativity and the kind of our creativity is hampered, and by pornography. And it's like I've seen it everywhere in art and architecture and all this stuff, and other music, and I have a feeling a lot of that has to do with the impact of the pornography on access to it on the internet. And I think it's harming. I think it's really harming young people. I think it's worse than drugs, or as bad as drugs and alcohol. And I think that needs to be taken out of circulation. And but there's always going to be. I don't believe in prohibition. Not that I don't believe in it, but I don't think it's practical to police. So in order, I think making sure it's behind a paywall would be the best way to combat that particular evil. Now the next one, then, number 6, I think that we should promote trades over degrees. I think that a lot of degrees, like the third level industry in Ireland, is just an industry. A lot of degrees aren't worth the paper they're written on. They're just ways for colleges to make money, and when people come out, they get a degree and they're not really qualified to do anything. They don't really have a grade. It might open a few doors for them, but most of the time, it's not going to set them up. So they've gotten themselves in debt, spent a lot of money and a lot of time for basically a poor investment. And so I think that we should promote trades, because we're crying out for trades. You know what I mean? We don't have enough people to build houses and build infrastructure here in Ireland. So we need that needs to be, we need plumbers, electricians and engineers and that kind of thing, but especially tradesmen. Okay, so number 7 then is currency, I would make a law saying that cash, there's no company or no establishment cannot accept cash. You can't. It's mandatory that if somebody offers you cash for a payment, you have to accept it. Okay, so that would just protect our freedom, to use cash. Number 8 then is a big one. Number 8's got to do with RTE, and it's a public state broadcaster. Now a lot of people aren't paying their license fee. I understand why. My problem with RTE is not the license fee itself; it's the fact that they have a license fee and they get money from advertisement. So they have they're kind of operating as a state broadcaster for the government, and also they're operating as a commercial broadcaster. So they're under duress then from their sponsors to behave a certain way or to push a certain narrative too. So I would make it a license only and make them a public broadcasting service in the true sense of the word. And when it comes to politics, when it comes to politics, they have to have a balanced approach. When it comes to anything, like if they're talking about climate change, and they can't just have some guy on telling us that we're going to die in a couple of years. They have to have somebody from the opposite side with a more nuanced, and intelligent response to the climate hysteria. So balanced broadcasting, and also that their main objective is not to make money, because they're not going. If I was, in charge of RT, I wouldn't let them use commercial broadcasting. I just have the license, and their main what would you say? Their main operating principle is to promote Irish culture, so that their TV programming, apart from if it's not political, it's got to do with Irish culture and history and music and that kind of thing. And move away from that stuff, like all that Love Island stuff and crappy like Fair City, and move away from all that stuff. That's not, that stuff is designed to make money, but they shouldn't be doing that. They should be just promoting Irish culture. They might get less people watching it, but that's fine. It's not about viewership. It's about promoting the culture and our history and our music and our art and etc. And it would be RT would be not for profit. They would rely totally on the license fee, but it would be scaled down. We wouldn't be paying those guys like Joe Duffy and Ryan Tubridy big bucks, because we can get people for a tenth, a quarter of that, just as good. So that's what I would do. Make RT a proper public service broadcaster. Now number 9. This might be a bit controversial, but I would ban halal slaughter in Ireland. And I don't make any bones about this. It's just simply to keep Islam out of Ireland, because I think that in the future Islam will be a massive threat. If things keep going the way they're going, and the kind of materialist, atheistic, mindset rots the kind of impairs or rots the kind of spirit of the Irish nation. Then it takes and kind of weakens Christianity to such an extent that Islam will come in and take over. So we can't have that. So I would just ban halal slaughter, and that would keep a lot of Muslims out of Ireland, because you can come and live in Ireland if you want as a Muslim, but then you have to be a vegetarian. Okay, and then the last one is this is the death penalty. This is for high up public officials and politics. Now I don't believe in the death penalty in general, for people. Normal people, but just for people, high-end political and public officials. So I'm not talking about a county councillor, and I'm not talking about TDs even. I'm talking about just about ministers, and Taoiseach, Taoiseach, and then they're kind of the public service permanent secretaries that are underneath them. Just those guys, that they're like the captains of the ship. So if they make a mistake, it's a lot of responsibility. So if they make a mistake, they have to go down with the ship, So if you have a Taoiseach there or a Taoiseach there and he's corrupt, and and he's found out to be corrupt, there has to be serious consequences, and the consequences have to be that he has to be put to death. And I think for one thing, it would keep a lot of weak people out of politics, especially where we need good people at the top end. It would keep them away from that, because they would know, if I'm corrupt or I get caught being corrupt, then I'm going to face the death penalty. So I think that it would so keep away the weak people and the psychopaths. They would stay away from those positions, and I think we're attracting weak people and psychopaths into those positions precisely because there are no consequences for when they fuck up. So yeah, so that's it. So there's 10 solutions, and I don't see any of those being implemented anytime soon. I don't think there's a political will for anything like that. But I think that if we did implement some of those, we would go a long way towards healing and making Ireland a lot stronger. Um, so that's it. Yeah, I do have more solutions, but some of them would be, like I said before, they might be a bit controversial, and I don't want to. I just want to think about them a bit more before I express them publicly. So yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there. So thanks for watching anyway. God bless. Take care.